Mayor, thanks for talking to us. I'm hoping we can start by having you tell us what decision you've made about your political future.
Well, sure. My decision today is that while I have enjoyed this job, I still love this job. This job is a great opportunity for anyone who serves as mayor, but it's not right. I came into this office as a businessman, and I try to bring some of those experiences with me. And I think we have. I think when we started out in 2001, there were several things we were trying to address, whether it would be out of control spending, we're trying to get community policing oriented, return civility to City Hall, all those things, making sure we prioritize neighborhoods, all of which I believe we've accomplished now. So at this time now, as I'm turning into my 65th year, I think it's time for some new blood to continue the momentum of our city going forward.
Now, in January, when you gave the State of the City address, all signs pointed to you wanting to run for another term. What's kind of what?
I think the operative word was that I would probably run for another term. I think in any decision-making process, you go through the pros and cons, and you look at where you've been, what more can you do, how do you feel, and do you have the energy, do you have the desire to move forward, and all of which I think I do. But in the same token, I also think there's other things I'd like to do, and other things I'd like to have the opportunity and time to enjoy. So that's what I've made the decision to spend a little bit more time. I got a couple of really cute young grandbabies that would like to spend a little more time with too.
As you know, I think a lot of people will say, oh, because of the fight over the baseball stadium, that's why he's not going to run. Can you talk about whether or not that was a factor?
No, it was not. I think, in this job is not without its ups and downs. Fortunately, I've had more ups and downs. But I think this job, if you come into it and you think you're not going to have controversy, you're sadly mistaken and you're being very naive. We've had many controversies if you look back, and whether it be Elkhorn or issues with the 25-year contract, which we're very proud of. Those are just part of the job, and I look upon those things as part of the process. But at the end of the day, you do what you think is best for the city and move on, which was what I've tried to do.
Do you think that had you decided to run for re-election again, that it would have been a more difficult campaign just because of everything that happened with the baseball stadium?
Well, I think like in any campaign, you're having to, you deal with what you've done in the past, which is fair, and where you're trying to lead the city. So it would be incumbent upon me to make that case, which I would have done if I chose to move forward.
How about kind of looking back on the 7 years so far in office, what gives you the greatest sense of accomplishment?
Oh, I think, well, certainly the 25-year agreement with the NCA is certainly a big one. But, I love the fact that if you look back on where we were in 2001, working with the City Council the way we have, I think both the administration and the City Council deserve a lot of credit in restoring civility to City Hall. Where we have our differences over contracts and things like that, we've never, even though we disagree, we're not disagreeable. And I take a great deal of pride in that and so should the council. Making sure we worked on community policing. I think the overall crime stats are certainly indicative of we were very successful in doing that. So I feel very good about that. Prioritizing neighborhoods. I mean, getting those 70 neighborhood parks in line was a big deal to me. I think the empowering the neighborhoods to take on more responsibility was something I think that they certainly appreciated. Working with the business community. I love doing that because I'm a businessman. I love working with the Chamber of Commerce. A lot of those things were really a lot of fun and very gratifying.
How about any major regrets or over your
regrets
over your 7 years?
Oh, I think you have to go back to a couple major ones in respect of not fun in office at all was certainly the loss of Sergeant Pratt and the Von Mar shootings. Were terrible days in this office. Very gut-wrenching.
Can you tell us a little bit about why you're making this announcement now?
Yes, it's an excellent question. I thought we needed to make this announcement about 10 months out to make sure that we give other candidates the opportunity and the time necessary to put together a campaign, to think through the process, and to formalize, their strategies. We've already had a couple candidates already announced, and that's great. I think there are other candidates out there, and I did not want to wait to the last minute for people wondering what I was going to do. I think 10 months is the appropriate time. I told the business community earlier this year that I'd make my decision in plenty of time to let them know what direction I was headed. And I've tried to fulfill that promise to them.
How about approaching people out in the community to inquire if they want your job? Have you been doing much of that?
Oh no, I haven't really done. I don't think it's my job to necessarily recruit the next mayor of the city of Omaha. I think that's the people's job, or the candidate's job, to present themselves and their views, their ideas, then let the people decide. Depending on who shows up and actually runs, in my level of involvement, I'll make that decision later on.
Do you have any plans for one final major initiative during your last 10 months in office?
We have 10 months to go in office. We have plenty of stuff on our table, with not only the completion of the assembly of ground for the ballpark and things like that, but also we have some the issues with whether or not we're going to move forward on the streetcar line. I think getting those TIF districts in order is certainly one priority we want to look at and address to see if it's appropriate for our administration to move that ball forward or do we leave it for the next administration. The one thing I'm going to certainly concentrate on and make sure it does happen is a very smooth transition to the next administration.
In an alternate universe, if you were going to run again, what would have been your priorities for your next 4 years in office?
Well, I think certainly the continuation of the momentum in the city is very critical, no matter if it's myself or anybody else. There was 48 mayors before me. I think a lot of them have, tried to do that as best they could. I think that addressing, certainly the biggest hurdle we have is the CSO problem, the combined sewer overflow. That's going to be a challenge for the next administration. I think working on those issues, making sure that we do a great job of infill down in the north downtown area, providing economic opportunity for more businesses to come to the city, working with the Chamber of Commerce, all of which are enough to keep your plate very full.
Do you have any concerns that, now that you've said you're not running for re-election, that you're going to have sort of lame duck status and it's going to be a little more difficult to get some of those things done? Well,
I think one of the things that you don't want to do right after let's say 8 months ago, when I was thinking about this, although I didn't know the decision then, you wouldn't want to make a decision that far out. But I think 10 months is appropriate for the reason I've already stated. I don't think necessarily will be viewed so much as a lame duck if we're continuing to move the city forward. I think people will listen to us if we, it's incumbent upon any administration to make sure that the projects or the move where you're trying to take the city makes sense to the citizens of Omaha. So it's incumbent upon us to make sure that happens anyway.
So it sounds like you've been thinking about this decision for some time. When did you really start considering it, and when did you finally decide that?
You mean when I've had 2 speeches in my pocket today? No, I made the decision probably about 30 days ago. I was probably leaning more towards not running than running. But I went back and forth. I'll be honest, I did go back and forth. But the more you step back and look at it, I think this is certainly the right decision for me.
You mentioned those grandkids of yours.
Yeah.
What other big plans do you have 10 months from now?
Oh, I don't know. I'll probably take a little trip or something like that. But I'll be around. I'm not going to leave the community. I'm going to stay in the community. I'm going to try to be involved in the community. I'd like to be involved with Bright Futures, continuing that role, and talk to Mr. Yanni about that. I think that's certainly a possibility. I'd like to be involved with either some boards or nonprofits in the community, which is what I'll try to do.
Any advice for those folks that might be thinking about jumping into the race?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope they come in with a great deal of enthusiasm and a desire to continue moving the city forward. The city deserves that. We're on a great roll right now. We've had all kinds of recent accolades from various news sources, kind of stating, that Omaha is an outstanding city. We're moving it forward. And the challenge will be for the new guys, people coming in, men or women, will be continue that legacy.
Great. Well, I certainly appreciate you
Thanks,
taking time to talk to us.
Good being with you.